got another scream of new goth bands to share with you. A scream is a collective term for a bunch of goth musicians. It's not. Welcome to By Candlelight, beaming goth, darkwave and post-punk straight into your brain. Standing in the light, I never wanted to be right. Okay, so I've got another 10 newish goth bands for you to check out. I'm loving this series so far. It was why I wanted to start the channel in the first place. I know I've mentioned this a few times. Just to find new goth bands for myself, but also to share these bands to a wider audience, along with their Bandcamp links and their website links. It's a win-win. You guys get to discover some new bands, and the bands themselves get some exposure. What's great is that this series is now metamorphosizing into a recommendations from you guys kind of affair. So if you recommend it and I like it, it could end up in a future episode, and I will of course give you a shout out. So most of the bands I'll be talking about today are from you. So keep those suggestions for new bands rolling in. Should we stop faffing about, to use an informal British term? First band I have is Kaelan Mikla. This Icelandic band was formed in 2013. According to their website, Robert Smith himself is a fan of this band and has booked them for festivals he has curated. Looks like they have 5 albums out, although some of those might be EPs. I've honed in on their 2021 album that I can't actually pronounce. Soz. I'll put it there. So this album switches between the dark and the brooding and more uplifting melodic songs. I really like them, and I love the diverse mood changes on this album. Also liking the album cover art for their last few releases. Not that you should judge an album by its cover. Check them out. Next, I've got Vasos Cuerpos. Hope I've pronounced that right. These guys are from Mexico, and it looks like they formed in 2020. And it kind of looks like they've got one album and a few EPs. Maybe the one to check out is Labyrinto. From like the opening bars of the first song, you know exactly what you're gonna get on this album. Rushing drum machines, synthy atmospherics, and gorgeous guitars that have been dipped in reverb and are still moist. Sorry, I used the M word. Dark voices and prominent bass lines as well just make this album addictive, at least for me. Love the production too, decent. So the rest of this top 10 is from you guys. I kind of want to applaud you without it sounding patronising. The next band, Plastique Noir, comes from Lynn T. Thank you for sending. Formed in Brazil, I think, in 2005, after doing a little bit of digging. They have 4 albums, but I do recommend you check out their debut, Dead Pop. Although originally released in 2007, they released a remastered version in January 2024. Kind of these intertwining lead and bass guitars are at the forefront, but there is a sprinkling of synth too, and a dynamic voice finishes things off just nicely, thank you very much. A strong album from a great band. So the next 3 bands are from Rob Eva. Thank you so much, Rob. The first is This Eternal Decay from Italy. Featuring a member from Date at Midnight, they released 5 albums of sheer quality since 2018. I'm zeroing in on 2023's Absolution. This collection of melodic tracks has just the right level of variety to make a highly listenable album. I think it's because some tracks are synth-led and then others are guitar-led, but it just all gels so well together. And there's a polish here too, but overproduced it isn't. Rob's next recommendation is Hallowed Hearts. This duo from New York have 2 albums available. Their windswept and rain-soaked post-punk is So great to hear in 2025, but maybe get some sort of cagoule. The album I'd try first is Masquerade. Really love the title track. It's just so meaty, which is weird to say because I'm a vegetarian. The next one from Rob is Colorado's Plague Garden. Looks like they've been releasing material since 2020. The release that caught my ear was Under the Sanguine Moon. I love the description of this album on their Bandcamp page. It says, Under the Sanguine Moon features a prominent vampire theme. Delve into the catacombs of a nocturnal world where tales of bloodlust at dusk reign supreme. Listen to fantastical tales of the undead, and even a little bit of Greek mythology added in for variety. There's even an unlikely cover song that will surprise you. That's Garbage's #1 crush. A nice, dark and brooding album that still manages to be quite melodic. You had me at vampire. The last one from Rob is Guillotine Dream from Wales, UK. Rob, another brilliant recommendation. Did you want to be my co-host? Their 2023 album Blades Fall caught my ear. This is good, old-fashioned goth. Guitar-driven, dynamic, and with a voice that's quite Eldridge-esque, but is still buried quite deep within the mix. A little bit like Mike's voice from Lycia. I know I say this a lot, but it is fantastic to hear an album like this in 2025, and it should be celebrated. We should maybe buy them a cake. It's not groundbreaking, but we don't want it to be. This is what we want to hear. A really brilliant album. D. Moore 1470 suggested a band called Ductape from Turkey. Yeah, I'm loving these guys. Predominantly synth driven. If you like bands such as Ego Likeness that manage to create a wall of synth but still manage to make it sound raw and dirty, then I'd give Ductape a go. I swooped in on their third album, 2024's Echo Drama. I mean, the music's great, but that voice is something else. Dynamic, dark, and emotional. It just cuts right through. And can I use dynamic any more than I have in this episode? It reminds me of Susie's voice. You know how Susie's voice can just cut right through the mix. It doesn't matter what's going on. She just rides the wave of music. Highly recommended. Next, we have two bands recommended by Illumina. First is Virgin in Veil from Finland. Unfortunately, Virgin in Veil are no longer active, with their last release being 2019's Permanent Funeral. Apt. It's such a shame because Permanent Funeral, it's such an exhilarating portion of Deathrock. And if it's Deathrock, I'm there with knobs on. But all their stuff is great, and I think you'd really struggle to find a favourite here. I know I did, but check these guys out. Lastly, and Illumina's second rec, is Hologram from Germany. I'm already familiar with Hologram, having been a bit of a fan of their 2018 album, Modern Cults. Although they can be quite melodic, they almost sidestep this by just drenching everything in reverb. And when I say drenched, it was like the album spent most of the afternoon in a jacuzzi of reverb with a daiquiri. A great album. 1 minute it's like rushing along, and the next minute it's languishing in despair. But on all tracks, it's this layering of synths and effects that make you want to come back to this album again and again. I actually found it quite addictive. So there we go, the latest 10. Big thanks to Linty, Rob Eva, D Moore and Illumina for their fantastic recommendations. And now it's your turn. Send me your new bands. Obviously in the goth, post-punk and darkwave arena of things. Don't send me any jazz fusion or Snow Patrol. Pop them in the comments below, and if I like them, they could be featured in a future episode. Apart from that, what did you think of the bands that I talked about today? Let me know. I'll post links for you to check out each one, to go to their website, their Bandcamp, please consider supporting them, whether that's buying a physical copy, buying a gig ticket, just buying a bit of merch, whatever you can. It makes a big difference to these guys. Thank you for sailing with me on this 4th episode of New Goth Bands. Until next time, see you later.